Upadane khiladhare jaganti parameshware sarga sthitilayan yanti budbudhani vavarini. Upadane khiladhare jaganti parameshware sarga sthitilayan yanti budbudhani vavarini. Budbudhani varini. Just like bubbles, budbudhani iva, like budbudhan means bubble, just like bubbles in water. I always remember the entire text, every verse is an analogy, is an example, a comparison. Just like bubbles in water, the world arises from, exists in, and dissolves into. So arises from, exists in, dissolves into what? The Supreme Lord, Parameshwara. Param is supreme, Ishvara is the Lord, the Supreme Lord, which is the material cause and the supporter of everything. Upadane, the word upadane means the material cause. Akhiladhare, it's a supporter of everything. I'm just giving you the Sanskrit words here and there so that you know what words convey what. Upadane, akhiladhare, jaganti, parameshware. Jaganti is the world, Parameshwara is Supreme Lord. Sarga sthitilayan yanti, arise, exist and dissolve. Very simple, very straightforward. Yes, Ji. So that's the translation. Now, even though they mention of two elements, the two elements which are mentioned in the verse, which is the material cause and the supporter cause. In any creation, we must understand this, in any creation, there are three essential causes. In any creation, there is the material cause, there is the instrumental cause, and then there is the efficient cause. Sudhakar Garu, can you please repeat the three factors involved in any creation? I'm just checking whether you're following or not.
The material cause.
Material cause.
The instrumental cause.
Instrumental cause.
And I just forgot.
Efficient cause. Efficient cause.
Efficient cause.
Efficient cause. Okay. Now, for example, let's take the example of a mud pot. I show you a mud pot. Imagine there's a mud pot.
Yeah.
Now I ask you, what is the material cause in the creation of this pot?
That is the mud.
The mud.
Yes.
What is the instrumental cause in creating of the mud pot?
The acumen of the person who is doing the job, who is doing the pot.
Instrumental cause, I'm saying.
Instrumental cause, I did not catch correctly. What does it mean?
Okay, now somebody can help what the instrumental cause is. Sethuramanji?
Potter's wheel.
The potter's wheel.
Correct. So the instrumental cause means the instrument or the tool,
yeah,
the equipment with which the object is created. Instrumental cause means the equipment which is used to create the object.
Yes.
So in the creation of the pot, there is the potter's wheel. The potter's wheel, he places that lump of clay, and on the wheel, he uses the efficient cause. Efficient cause is the, who is the efficient cause here?
The potter himself.
The potter himself, correct. So in any creation, the creation of the mud pot, you have the material cause, which is the the clay, you have the instrumental cause, which is the potter's wheel, and then you have the efficient cause, which is the very efficiency or the knowledge which the potter brings into that art of creating the mud pot. So even though the verse only talks of two, there is a third part. This is the style of the Shastras. They talk only part to mean the whole. So we got to expand on it, which is what we are doing. All right. Now, in any creation, this principle is applicable. Right. Now, in order to create the world, what are the three? Again, the three will be applicable: the material cause, the efficient cause, the instrumental cause. So what are the three responsible for the creation of the world? Yes, sir. So I'm glad you're following. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Right, Ji, right, Ji. Hari Ji. Hari sir. Solunga sir. What is the material, instrumental, and efficient in the creation of the world?
Only one.
என்ன
That
சார்
is
நான்
Brahma.
மூணு சொல்றேன், நீங்க ஒரு சொல்றீங்க.
Efficient material cause is Brahman, efficient cause is Brahman, and the instrumental cause is Brahman. Brahman and Brahman alone.
Absolutely right. I think there is some disruption in your audio, but we got what you're saying. What you got to understand with reference to the creation of the world, it's only
It's
one.
only one.
It's only one, which is the underlying reality, Brahman. So Brahman is the efficient cause. Brahman is the material cause. Brahman is the instrumental cause. Brahman is everything. Brahman is the efficient cause. Allah mein Brahman da inga. All Brahman and Brahman
Everything
alone.
is Brahman. Yeah.
Everything is Brahman. Sadly, we realize it, but we don't realize it.
Can we hear? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So there is only one. Everything, all the causes, material, efficient, and instrumental cause, everything is Brahman.
Yes, everything is Brahman. But then when you say, again, go back to the argument
Yeah.
of what we said before. What is the cause of creation of the world? What creates this world? You can't say Brahman created the world.
No.
It is ignorance of Brahman that has
It is
gone about creating the world. Just
Yeah.
like ignorance of the oyster has created the silver, similarly, the ignorance of God has created the world. So in that sense, Brahman is the
all the three causes.
all the three causes: material, instrumental, and efficient.
Yeah.
Perfect. So the world arises from, exists in, and dissolves into the Parameshwara, the Supreme Lord. The moment you use the word Lord, the term Lord conveys something which has a control over everything, that which controls. So the controlling factor of all that's happening is Brahman. And what is the Brahman controlling? Brahman controls all your perceptions. Brahman controls all your emotions. It controls all your thoughts. It means all the transactions that's happening. The traffic of life. What is the traffic of life? Again, I'm not challenging you all. I'm just engaging you all. That's all. Every traffic of life, Brahman is responsible, he's saying. He controls it. Like everything that's happening in the vehicle is happening because of petrol. The moment petrol is off, everything in the car, it comes to shut down. Whether it's air conditioned, whether it's the windows, whether it's the ignition, and nothing works. Everything comes to a dead halt. So what is the traffic of life, which is control, everything that controls? So what's the traffic of life? Perfect. GM, Gayatri Ma. Short form for Gayatri Ma, GM. Perfect GM. The traffic of life begins with the receipt of stimuli from the world. So the senses receive the world, receive the stimuli from the world, and having received the stimuli, your mind and intellect process it. There's a reaction within. And having reacted, your organs of action respond back into the world. So organs of perception are receiving the world. What is organs of perception? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. This is the organs of perception. They receive the stimuli. Having received, there is a reaction within. Having reacted, you respond back into the world. So responses are through the karmendriyas. The perception is with the jnanendriyas, and the manas and the buddhi react. And all of this is possible is because of the Parameshwara, the Supreme Lord, which is Akhiladhare. The Supreme Lord is a supporter. It is a supporter of everything. Just like he says, bubbles are, where are bubbles created? Where do they come from? From the water. Where do they exist? On that surface of the water. And when they burst, where do they go back? Into the water. Just like the bubbles which arise, exist, and die back into the water, the entire world arises, exists, dies. Into what? Into the Akhiladhare, which is the supporter, and it is also the Ishvara. It makes it happen. It is responsible for everything, and it is the very cause, it supports it, man. So what he's saying is we are all bubbles. And what is a bubble? How do you describe a bubble? Who can describe it very poetically? What's a bubble? Yes, Hariji. Venkateshwarji is saying momentary nature.
Regarding bubble, that is the, it is the water film where an air gets entrapped, and due to the heat, that film of water expands and appears as a bubble.
So the bubble is formed because of the heat, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it is it the heat? Harishi is nodding his head.
Actually, that's a, I don't know, I shouldn't say this, but it's not scientifically correct.
That's why I said we want someone who is profound in this field. That's why I surrendered.
A creation of a bubble is a portion, or is a membrane or a thin film of the material which separates and is formed because a difference in surface tension between that portion and the rest. So it's a difference of surface tension which creates a bubble.
All right.
The greater the difference in surface tension, the greater is the staying power of the bubble. That's why when you put soap into water, you reduce the surface tension of water, and therefore the bubble stays longer. So it is because the difference in surface tension, and this is a very fundamental principle of all adhesion. So one of the ways that you stick to something is by enhancing the difference in surface tension. And I think philosophically speaking, there is a great merit in the terms difference, enhancing the difference, and the word tension. So the entire Maya or the perception or everything of the bubble is created by a difference from the reality. Greater the difference, greater the Maya, greater the bubble, right? And it all results in tension. But technically speaking, it's surface tension.
So from surface tension, you're controlled with tension. We have such brilliance amongst us, so I just wanted that brilliance to shine.
This is just 2 + 2 is 22, not 2 + 4.
In short, we're all bubbles. With philosophically, how do you see it? We have got ourselves, what creates this bubble? In philosophical terms, bubble is an individuality. An individuality creates a separation from the totality. Even though, see, the individuality creates a separation from the totality. So the bubble claims an individual existence apart from the water it's supported with. But it doesn't realize that the bubble has formed because of the water. The bubble doesn't realize that it is existing in water. It doesn't realize it's going to go back into that very same water it is supported with. But it claims an individuality. Similarly, we are all individuals. The individuality that creates the bubble, in philosophical sense, we call it the jiva. The jiva is created with, what creates the jiva?
Vasanas.
Vasanas. What is the definition of jiva?
Jiva is the conditioned consciousness.
Correct. Now, if you go back to the definition of the bubble in a relative sense, it is water with air trapped in it, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Water, air trapped in its bubble.
Yes.
Similarly, what is jiva? Who is jiva, this individual?
The individual consciousness trapped in the BMI.
Please revisit Hariji, please revisit that equation. We're saying there's no difference in the water of the bubble and the water which supported, same water.
Same.
So how do you say it's individual consciousness? It's not individual. Consciousness is only one. The water is one. The water which formed the bubble and the water which support is the one. Same, isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't say the water in the bubble is different to the water which supports it.
No,
the same water.
It is same.
Same. So going again by the equation, a little bit of air trapped in water is bubble. The equation.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, what is it that creates the jiva?
The individual vasanas. That is the air. That is the air, and that becomes as the expression of that vasanas is the individual, the conditioned consciousness.
Right. You're not wrong. You're right. Very right. So in effect, jiva is nothing but the pure consciousness, which is that all-pervasive water, the pure consciousness plus the ego.
Yeah.
The ego is the ahankar. The ahankar plus the consciousness equals jiva. So a human being is nothing but God plus vasanas. In the simplest of equations, we say, isn't it? A human is nothing but divinity plus the vasanas. So take away the vasanas, human attains godhood.
Yeah.
One gets to that realization. Just like when the the air which is trapped in the bubble breaks. There's no more the ahankar, there's no more the individuality of the bubble, it merges back into the water.
Water, yeah.
Similarly, when the ego of an individual dies, and this process of ego dying is a slow process of liquidation. It doesn't diminish, it doesn't die in a moment. So the process of transformation is the ego has to be
Subdued.
subdued. You have to annihilate it, you have to subdue it, you have to conquer it. You'll have to understand the insignificance of yourself. And ego is nothing but glorification of oneself. When ego is when you exaggeratedly glorify yourself in any equation, in any situation, the other way of it is the reverse osmosis. The go through the reverse processes where you, rather than glorifying, you are, what's the term I used, Harishji?
Reverse
Exaggerated. Exaggerated.
That is the ego, I said. But what's the process of, I said annihilating, isn't it? Exaggerating,
Annihilate. Yeah.
annihilating the ego. So you go through the process where you are feeding it, you don't feed it. And when does ego arise? Perhaps you can take it up as a question for thought processes. What creates ego?
Ignorance.
Sir, this is for your further study and reflection, sir. Or a small thesis present pannungo. Mini thesis.
Okay.
What creates ego? And how do you go about annihilating it?
Okay.
Because again, I'm just giving an exercise so that we think along the context of the West. So when all of this is happening, nothing's happening to the water beneath, isn't it? Water remains the same. So all this change happening of the world. So the bubble is just not you and I. He's saying the entire world is a big bubble, he says. Can you imagine that? The whole world is a big bubble. It's going to dive back into the... It in fact dies every day. When you go to sleep, your whole world disappears. It doesn't exist. Absolutely, it all dies when you realize the self. So the world arises because of your ego. The world exists because of your ego. The world disappears because of your own ego. That's what he's saying. Yes, Sudhakar Garu.
Ego, I think it arises because of our arrogance, and because the arrogance comes out that we think we know too much, we know everything. And these are the basic reasons I find in many people, that this is because of arrogance and because of the thing that even though he doesn't know anything, but he thinks that he knows everything. And that creates, that is the basic ingredient. I would say that is the basic, this thing for the formation of ego in a person.
I think along with you, but I would not want to comment because I've given it as a homework. So think about it. But just to comment, I think you are talking about the expression of ego. I want to know what's the cause of it also. What is ego? It's just not when you said what is ego, you should, perhaps you can rephrase the question. What is ego? What is the cause of it? And how does one annihilate it? So three aspects to that ego question. What is ego? What is its cause? And how does one go about annihilating it? And the most interesting thing is all of us have ego.
Especially a person who says, I don't have the ego, he has got the most of the ego.
Yeah, correct. It's amazing
I
how,
have seen many people, telling that I don't have any ego at all.
and that is the expression of ego actually. That is,
Ego, that itself.
I remember my guru used to say that whenever you want to buy a book, you read the preface, and you would just see the number of times the I appear in the preface. There's I am humbly presenting, I have nothing, I this, I that. So much of I. He says, not worth reading that book. Put aside that book. And then I'm quoting him in the context. There's a man who went to Europe and wanted to share his experience. And he wrote a book so beautiful. And the title of the book was The Europe I Saw. He just wanted to convey what his experiences was, so that it becomes a guide for people who want to explore on their own. And somebody who read that book and commented, whatever was said is so beautifully captured, just that the title has to be changed, he said. An independent person a critic who independently commented, he said everything is fine, but the title of the book has to be changed. What's the title? It's not that the Europe I saw, it has to be the I who saw Europe. There's more of I than the Europe in it. Not I-E-Y-E, the alphabet I. I am sharing my experience of Europe. So it's rather than describing what Europe is, he is giving his ego glorifying in the whole book. So he said the title has to be changed. Not the Europe I saw, but the I who saw Europe. Oh, so much of ego. Have you only have seen the world? Have you only achieved the world? Have you only had success? Are you the only person who has money? Are you the only person who have knowledge? Are you the only person who has? Amazing how this ego destroys us and what this ego creates. In fact, you can keep expanding the question. There's so many aspects to it. And what does this ego create? Another aspect to the question: what is ego? How does it? What is ego? How does one? What's the cause of ego? What does ego do?
How do you annihilate?
No, that will be the fourth aspect. So third is, what does ego do? What is the effects of ego, having ego? So first is, what is ego? What is the cause of ego? What
Is the effects?
What are the effects of ego, having ego? And then how does one annihilate ego? And I request all of you all, when you give in your answers in the group, try to be very succinct, very as brief as you can. You don't have to explain yourself, because if clarification is sought, you can explain. So when you're concising, it also becomes very exercise. It becomes a great exercise, so that you're very discreet and you're very precise in your thinking. It makes it it requires effort to concise and be succinct. It doesn't take effort to write essays. So limit your answers to very short sentences, a very short explanation. What is ego? What's the cause of it? What are its expressions? How do you annihilate it? Even if it means 1-2 lines each question, get it straight, dead right, straight to the question. Okay. Ninth verse. Again, you see, if you go back to Hariji, just a moment, please. If you have realized what we have done unknowingly, what we have done, Subramaniam ji, what have we done in this verse, verse 8?
from the known, you just take, because the second step of the statement also, from the water and the bubble to aspects which are not said there, just took us towards that. And that became a matter for us to ponder and then slowly come to realize what is ego, and very fundamental questions it is.
Yes, correct. So what we have done, as I mentioned earlier, there is the pure philosophy, applied philosophy. There is the pure matter of fact, then there's abhyasa. There are two sides to it. You got to know, you got to realize it. You would not have realized if it was not brought to notice.
Yes.
So the fact that it is being brought to notice, you need to be conscious and put down your understanding in these two ways. Concept wise, you know very clear.
Yeah.
One is to understand, other is to live it. So applied philosophy determines where you stand, not how much you are informed. There's no point being informed. We don't want to be intellectual, inundated with intellectual knowledge and then develop intellectual nausea. Intellectual nausea is only going to suffocate others. You start giving knowledge when it's not sought after. So we understand knowledge is limited. Knowledge is useless beyond a point. In fact, knowledge is dangerous. It is detrimental. Many a time I tell many people, don't get so carried away with the knowledge. It is of useless. It is meaningless if it doesn't help you to translate into life. If you can't go down on your knees and scrub the floor and do karma and seva, no point having jnanam. No point having. If you can't be of service, if you can't translate it into action, knowledge is useless. Knowledge is meaningless. So,
Jnanam bandhanam, Shiva Sutras say.
absolutely, it's a bondage. It's knowledge bandhanam, yes. What is that statement, Harishji? I get what you're saying. Intellectual giants who are actually dwarfs in action. Yeah, it doesn't, it's like, there's a beautiful saying, men with mere ideas and no legs are no more than intellectual centipedes.
Wow.
You have many ideas. Many ideas. We have people who give a lot of ideas. Even in the foundation we have a lot of ideas. We get plenty of ideas. Nariya ideas we get. But nobody wants to come down to the ground level and do what needs to be done. Simple things like, I'm not sitting and complaining at anyone here. I'm saying intellectual ideas is very easy. But to get down, to take it as my goal to achieve it, that needs, even to do that, you need to have this as a goal, isn't it? Okay, yes, I want to serve this knowledge. This is the goal of my life. This is one of the purpose. I can't be being benefited by the knowledge, and yet I don't consider this knowledge as a goal. Oh, I'm being benefited by the family, but I'm not providing anything for the sake of the family. I don't work for the sake of the family. How can this dichotomy exist? It doesn't exist. If you believe this knowledge is something in your life, you must do everything to serve this cause. That is what we're talking of action. And if you don't do anything to serve this cause, you are not served by the cause. The knowledge will not serve you. That's why you call adhikari. Adhikari is one who does seva, who serves the cause. And that's when the knowledge will serve you.
Yeah.
So don't be carried away or don't be enamored by this knowledge. And I'm talking having given my entire life to it. In my dream also, you wake me up, I will not falter. To that extent, I vouchsake and I believe in it. And yet, if I don't myself do karma, finish. That's my sadhana ends here. So my sadhana actually begins beyond the classroom, not in the classroom. Remember this. Your sadhana is not in the classroom. Your sadhana is what do you do rest of the 23 hours or 22 hours and 45 minutes. What do you do? That is your sadhana. Are you being unselfish? Are you being service oriented? Are you living a life of sacrifice? What goals are you envisioning? Where are your efforts? That determines your growth. That is the applied philosophy we're talking about. That is when this knowledge will appeal to you. So you must understand the knowledge by itself will not appeal if you don't do that. And in fact, it is this that qualifies you for that. And no guru will tell you this, because it's not the job of the guru to qualify or disqualify you. You come qualified to the guru. If you don't have that quality, you're disqualified. You automatically disqualify yourself. Who is a guru to qualify or disqualify you? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm very busy with my personal life, my personal goals. My family life is very engaging. I have my own things to do in life. But I want this wisdom. But I'm not available for wisdom. May God be with you. This wisdom will not serve you. It will not serve me if I don't serve this wisdom. And I'm not serving only by teaching this knowledge. This is also service, but the real service is beyond the classroom. And it only humbles you that you are just, so you do your part insignificantly. You do your part with great shraddha. You do your part, whatever you have to do. Whatever you have to do, believe me, whatever you have to do, including clearing the garbage bags, because the garbage has to be cleared. Somebody has to clear the garbage bags, isn't it? Or I only teach, I will not create garbage bags. How can you evolve? So it is your karma. I'm giving you a cue how to annihilate ego. What annihilates ego? It's a very important aspect of the question. What annihilates ego is this, is the capacity to do seva and karma. You don't do karma, the knowledge is only going to make your ego fatter and bigger, and healthier ego you'll have, that's all. Only a person with no ego does karma. You want to do seva, you must have no ego. Like other day I was mentioning of someone who is known amongst us. To someone I was talking other day. There is a gentleman who is a well-wisher amongst our group. And he's not there today. And I know many others take that principle. I was referring to him. He comes to the center, and perhaps if he were to offer some tea or any drinks to whoever is there, he takes initiative. He goes and he picks them up. He goes into the kitchen and he'll wash them up and clean up the platform. And he would never do in his house because he has 4 maids in the house. But he comes to the center. He will get onto that. I was mentioning of someone, and he's not there in the class. I'm not trying to, again, the job of a guru is not to pat your ego. The job of a guru is to crush your ego. So he is not going to feed your ego, please. And you want to be with the guru, put your ego aside and come to him. In the Mahabharata, there was an instance when 2 people approached Lord Krishna. And as you know, the entire narration of the Gita is Sanjaya narrating to Dhritarashtra in the palace of Hastinapur. So there is a section where very few sections in the entire Gita, Sanjaya is quoted. And in one of the verses where Sanjaya is quoted, he says, the 2 people who approach Krishna is, one is Arjuna, other is Duryodhana. So when he describes Arjuna approaching Krishna, he says Arjuna approached Krishna. And when he talks of Duryodhana, he says Prince Duryodhana approached Krishna. Arjuna also was a royal prince, but he didn't bring his royalty to the equation when he approached Krishna. He approached with surrender, devotion. But when Duryodhana approached, he brought his vanity to the equation. I am a prince. I'm a man of arrogance. I'm a man of achievement. And all that was portrayed in just by Sanjaya describing to Dhritarashtra about his son, that he approached king with arrogance. Do you know that? You know what will be the fate of your son? The blind Dhritarashtra knew very well what is the fate of not his son, his 100 sons. So their own ahankar destroyed them. So, how, if you're following the thought, don't be lost in all the various things I'm saying, but they're all so beautifully intertwined, interdependent, interconnected. So knowledge will not serve you if you don't do karma, and if you can't do karma if you have ego, and you do karma to annihilate ego so that you are fit for receiving this jnanam. Otherwise, knowledge is no use. So, my appeal to you all is do karma. Don't get stuck and enamored by this knowledge. No use. I will be the Pradam Sevak of this cause. I will be there. I will be the first person. Again, it's not I saying. I'm saying unless and until I realize the importance, one realize the importance of doing karma, knowledge will not serve. Please don't get your priorities right. I'm not saying because you're doing or not doing is immaterial. I'm just trying to highlight how the dynamics of what we are involved in, how it plays, how it serves. So priorities has to be right. So in fact, the knowledge is it just happens to be. It's like I have seeds, the best quality seeds, but the soil is not conducive. What is the use I can have the best quality seed? The soil is of the worst quality because it has never been plowed, it's never been cleared, it's never been attended to. I throw any seeds, it will not sprout. You will spiritually grow only when the soil is conducive. And in that conducive soil, that's what happens. How does forest develop? How does forest grow? Nobody is going and planting the forest. It's just that the birds and nature, suddenly you will realize how the pollination happens because a conducive soil is so conducive. Mere pollination helps to regenerate the entire forest. They're talking of planting a mere sapling. Forests grow because the soil is conducive, because the rich manure, all the leaves and everything that fall, it's rich manure. So mere pollination helps to the forests thrive. Now we are spiritually deforestating ourselves and ruining the soil within. The only soil you need to create is selfless work. Unselfish. Selfless is too high. Chumma, the selfless again also is too much jnanam. Unselfish work pannapa first. Sacrifice panna. Get on to your knees. Get your sleeves dirty. There is no better spiritual growth than sweat and toil. The only solution to your growth is sweat. Sweat it out. That's the only way you grow. No karma, no growth. But yet, you got to understand why I'm not lost my focus. I'm saying the clear difference between applied philosophy and the pure philosophy. When applied philosophy is unless until it translates into action. Therefore, I'm saying karma is the true measure of your growth, not how much jnanam you possess, how many classes you attend, how many gurus you follow, how much books you read. For some time, put them back into the shelves and forget about them. I would say put them back into the shelves. Too much of jnanam is going on. Do some karma. Wherever you want to serve, please go and serve. I'm not seeking any support indirectly here, please. I'm just trying to tell you what really helps you grow.